Hey everybody! So today we're going to talk about Neptune entering Aries. This won't be until 2025 and then 2026 for good. But somebody on one of the Pluto return or Uranus entering Gemini videos that I did, I'm not sure which one, I can't remember which one, mentioned that I should look into Neptune entering Aries. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Why not? And, you know, in my looking into the US's Pluto return and in looking into Uranus entering Gemini, and that does seem to signify war. It does. I really hadn't thought about Neptune. I really hadn't thought about it much in terms of, you know, because Uranus can be chaotic. Pluto's transformation, though really Neptune can be kind of illusional, delusional, which I think sometimes war can kind of be that way. Anyway, I think it can be, you know, especially if people aren't completely sure what the fuck it is they're fighting for in the first place, or they don't realize that there's more to it usually than just what they think they're fighting for. And that's kind of, when I think of Neptune, let me know what you think of what comes to your mind when you think of Neptune entering Aries, like just off the cuff, off the bat, you know, without really thinking much about it. Because for me, what I think about is delusions or illusions of independence. I wrote it down on in my notes. I'm going to be looking at notes because I've got dates and shit written down that I want to make sure I get right. But I think of delusions or illusions and or illusions of independence. I think of delusions and or illusions of fighting or war. Like, what are you fighting for? That's not to say that the people that are fighting, right? I think that the people that are fighting, they know what they think they're fighting for. I don't want to say this though, but usually there's more to it, if that makes sense. Usually there's more to it than just that. There's just more to it that might not always be completely understood, or yeah. That's kind of what I think of when I think of Neptune entering Aries. Now, why does this matter? Well, I'm going to do a little bit of history here too. a little history. This video might feel like it's kind of all over the place. At some point I'll probably go more into this with actual charts and stuff. But I did think this was really interesting and I wanted to share it. And thank you to the watcher who mentioned that I should do something about this, because this is very interesting. It kind of led me down a fucking rabbit hole. And a rabbit hole that I'm still kind of going down. Okay, so I mentioned before that during the Civil War, Uranus was in Gemini. I mentioned that before. Shortly before the Civil War, transit Pluto was squaring the U.S.'s natal Pluto. Shortly before that, and then when the Civil War was going on here in the U.S., Uranus was in Gemini. Neptune was also in Aries during the Civil War as well. The last time Neptune was in Aries was from April 14th, 1861 through October 1st of 1861. That's when it made its first pass into Aries. Then it retrograded back into Pisces. And then on February 15th of 1862, Neptune re-entered Aries, where it stayed till April 8th of 1875. This does correlate with the Civil War and with some of the Reconstruction. Okay. This, Neptune will enter Aries in the future. It will enter Aries on March 31st of 2025 through October 22nd of 2025, where it'll be in Aries for just a little bit. It'll retrograde back into Pisces. And then on January 27th of 2026, it will re-enter Aries, and it will stay there until March 24th of 2039. Uranus will also be entering Gemini for good in 2026. it will have entered Gemini briefly in 2025, but in 2026 it will settle in Gemini. This is also right on the tail end, or right after the tail end of the US's Pluto return. So we got that Pluto shit going on. We've got the Neptune and Aries that will be going on. We've got Uranus and Gemini that will be going on. And anybody that lives here knows that there is a fuck ton of unrest in this country right now. This makes me nervous. This does make me nervous a little bit. Now, I don't think that it's going to be, I'm not predicting, I want to be very, very clear here. I'm not predicting civil war like what we think of when we think of civil war. Like, I'm not thinking about like North versus South civil war. I'm not thinking, it's not, if something comes down, it's not going to look like that. I don't think it'll look like this. It'll be updated to a modern age. But I do think that this is very interesting, that, you know, things are going on right now in this country that are very unsettling, just like things were going on shortly before the Civil War happened that were also unsettling. And then Civil War broke out here in this country. I also think it's really interesting. This is where history comes in a little bit. Like, I was looking at the dates, right, for the last time that Neptune was in Aries. Okay, so when Neptune entered Aries, last time Neptune entered Aries at first, April 14th of 1861, this actually correlates with the Battle of Fort Sumter, which was like the first battle in the Civil War, the first thing that's thought of as a battle. The Battle of Fort Sumter was from April 12th of 1861 through April 14th of 1861. I've also seen it as the 13th, but 13th or 14th of 1861. This correlates perfectly with Neptune entering Aries on April 14th of 1861. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. Which does make me a little nervous about Neptune entering Aries. And, you know, even during the shorter period before it retrogrades back into Pisces in 2025, it does make me a little nervous. It does make me a little nervous. Now, then, in when Neptune retrograded back into Pisces in 1861, the last battle that in 1861, the last battle that I could find, like main battle, was, I can't really say this without laughing just because it's got balls in the title, was the Battle of Ball's Bluff in Virginia. This was October 21st of 1861. Now, this would have also been like at the very tail end of the shadow period, the RX shadow period. But this was the last, and Neptune would have been in Pisces at this point, but still during that shadow, you know. But after that, until 1862, there don't appear to be any major battles, which is interesting. The next major battle was the Battle of Fort Donelson in Fort Donelson, Tennessee. This was fought on February 12th through February 16th of 1862. And Neptune re-entered Aries on February 15th of 1862. That's very interesting too. This was a battle that actually it made the Union, they got control of they opened up the Cumberland River to be able to invade the South. So it was a battle, a strategic battle that helped them out. It was also the battle that put Ulysses S. Grant on the map as being like a major player, a major general. So that happened, kicking off Neptune entering Aries for good. I think that that's interesting. That I thought it was really interesting that the dates line up the way that they line up. It's just interesting. It's very interesting to me. The astrology dork and the history dork find it interesting. So we have that going on. I did want to, you know, when Lincoln, this also makes me think about the 2024 election, and I know, like, who the fuck really wants to think about that? Like, I mean, really, who the fuck really wants to think about any of that? But it does make me think that the 2024 election might be really important. Because in 1860, when Lincoln was elected, that was that's what caused South Carolina, I believe, to secede, which is, that's a big deal. I think they were the first state to do it. So if we're going off of history, and if we're thinking about echoes of the past, it seems possible that whoever is elected in 2024 could be somebody who was a real catalyst for some shit starting. Not that Lincoln was bad. I'm not saying he was bad or he did anything wrong, but he was a catalyst. He was a catalyst. His policies were a catalyst. You know, and I do wonder if whoever is elected in 2024, the same kind of, not the same policies, not the same issues exactly, but if this person ends up being a catalyst, kind of like Lincoln was. It also makes me wonder if whoever wins in 2024 will make it to the end of their term, if history were to, you know, or make it to their next, you know. I do wonder if they would. I guess I wonder if they'd end up assassinated or not. There is a question of just if history were to repeat itself. I'm not wanting that to happen, obviously, but I do wonder if history were to repeat itself. If let me just say, I wouldn't fucking want that job. I wouldn't want that job anyway, but I really wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want it in 2024 for sure. Just my opinion. But there are, yeah, I mean, there are some interesting things from the past. There are some, and a lot of these same, well, they're not the exact same issues. The split, there is definitely a split and a polarization in this country right now, that it just seems like the time is very, very ripe for something along these lines that we've seen in the past to happen again. And it does make me, you know, with Neptune entering Aries, it does make me, or when it does enter Aries, it's like we all need to be very clear what it is we're actually fighting for. What is it that we're actually fighting for? Knowing all of the issues that we're fighting for. You know, knowing all of them. It seems like there could be illusions or delusions creeping up about what all of those issues are. So trying to be very clear about that seems like it would be a good idea. But anyway, I'm going to get going. Just wanted to toss this out there because it is very interesting. I will be looking more into this. I'd like to look at more charts like from the Civil War and charts coming up around the bend, and see if there's any, I don't know, any other themes. Anyway, so if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us at Let's Fuck With Astrology. I'm at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram. Natalie is at Paternal Astrology on Instagram. If you want to like or subscribe or whatever the fuck people do with videos on YouTube, you can find us by searching for Let's Fuck With Astrology in the YouTube search bar. If you're already watching this on YouTube, you can like and subscribe below. And leave comments. Seriously, leave comments about what you think Neptune entering Aries might mean. I would be curious. And like, don't think about it too hard. Just like, what do you think of off the top of your head? What do you think of? Or you can think about it hard, whatever you want to do. But I would be curious, just like off the cuff, what you think about, what comes to mind. If you do the right thing, come join us on the subreddit Let's Fuck With Astrology. And if you're interested in the star cards, go to letsfuckwithastrology.com/star-cards. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all later.